Yeah. All right. Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the May 15th, 2023 Public Facilities Committee meeting. And first, our order of business will be the approval of the minutes from our 4/17/23.
If I may continue the honor of being the one that typically approves these minutes, I looked them over. I found them to be splendid, and I'd like to make a motion to approve them.
I second that.
Thank you. Thank you. And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, and the minutes are approved. And our next item on the agenda is the privilege of the floor. Olivia, did you have anybody that mentioned wanting to speak? Okay. I don't see anybody standing up, so we'll move right along to our first proposed resolution, which is to confirm appointments. The Portland Pomfret Dunkirk Sewer District Board.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Would you please give us your name and
Matt
So we-
Olbeck, Director of North Chautauqua Lake Sewer District and Portland Pomfret Dunkirk Sewer District.
thank you.
This resolution is to fill the vacancy of 2 seats left vacant due to 2 members passing away in the last year. Both candidates have showed much interest and been attending some of the meetings in the past. So I think they'd be very good candidates for the board to help us through.
That sounds good. Well, very happy that they're stepping forward to help us fill this board out and represent the people in the district. Thank you. Any questions from the committee on this resolution? Okay, hearing no questions. All in favor of the proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? The resolution carries. Thank you, and thanks to these new members. Our second proposed resolution today is calling a public hearing pursuant to County Law 268 upon a proposal to reduce infiltration and inflow in the North Chautauqua Lake Sewer District.
So just a little background, the North Chautauqua Lake Sewer District collection system has approximately 352 manholes, 8,400 feet of gravity pipe, 21,500 feet of force main with 11 large pump stations and 165 grinder pump stations. This project, the project south of the institution was already rehabbed, so that took care of approximately 69 manholes and 12,500 feet of pipe. This would be addressing mostly the village of Mayville with some upgrades to the pump stations outside the village. The village of Mayville system was constructed in the 1950s and it's clay tile. The proposal is to do most manhole rehab, CIPP lining, which is no digging, just putting a sock up and lining the pipe with a little bit of replacement of line, but not too much. The total project is estimated at $5,500,000. $480,000. The plans to fund the project, the board is looking to apply for an EFC hardship loan, along with hopefully getting a 25% WIA grant. So if they were able to get the grant and the loan, the users would see an annual increase from $540 a year to $700 a year. If the grant, I'm sorry, that's if the grant is not received. If the grant is received, it would be for an increase of from $540 up to $660 per year. The district has also applied for a congressional community project funding in the amount of $3 million. We have heard back from them and we're through the first step, but we won't know for sure for a couple more months whether we receive that or not. So that's kind of where we're at.
Sounds good. Hopefully those grants will come through for us.
Hopefully.
Anybody on the committee have any questions concerning this proposed resolution?
You might have said this, Matt. This is similar to what we did below the Institute.
Yes, it's rehabbing manholes, which is lining them with a,
Right.
and there was very little, let's see, the cured in place pipe, the slip lining
Right.
would be 29,300 feet. Looks like they're only going to replace about 2,200 feet of line. They put in here approximately 80 manholes to be rehabbed. So most of them aren't too bad, but there's about 80 of them in the village here. That
I just want to ask, Tom, this is what we did. Weren't you involved with that?
That is what our current program in the South District is, yeah, rehabbing of the,
And it's successful so far.
we have seen a difference.
Yeah, okay.
We do see a difference, yep.
Okay.
But it's a little,
No. I just remember, what was that, 10 years ago? 8 years ago?
Yep, we started that program, we continue to do small.
Okay. So far, so good, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it.
Matt, are we optimistic on the grants that we have listed here? Cautiously optimistic, doubtful?
I'm always optimistic, but I'm not sure on the WIA grant, which is only 25%. The $3 million, I mean, Pierre might be able to go more. They were awarded this last year, right? Or the year before, or under the past congressman.
Right.
But then he stepped down and
Mhm.
the money never came through.
Yep.
So
I'm familiar with that, yes.
hopefully we can continue to go in the right direction here, but
And the public hearing is a necessary step for all of these
yeah.
sewer upgrades. Okay. Thanks.
Representative Langworthy has placed this at the highest priority.
Okay.
So that's a very favorable indication, but it still has to go through the whole process. with
Yep.
Congress.
Okay.
Sounds good. We have the support behind us. I imagine that'll come through. Okay, any other comments or questions about this one? Hearing none, all in favor of the proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Thank you. Our next proposed resolution is confirming the user charges South and Center Chautauqua Lake Sewer Districts.
So just bombarding you with numbers, I tried to write it out a little bit easier. So we can-
Thank you.
Colorful information.
There's no pictures, it's all right.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom Walsh. I'm the director of the North Chautauqua Lake Sewer District. Today's resolution is to establish user rates for Phase 1 sewer extension. So prior to construction in 2020, the map and plan report stated that this project would cost approximately, or cost $16,888,000. The anticipated grant funding was almost $8 million, and an anticipated 30-year 0% interest loan to be paid by the users would be in the realm of $8.9 million. The anticipated user costs of these 350 to 400 unit EDUs was not to exceed $1,000 a year, and that was stated by the New York State Comptroller. So following construction as we are today, we're more than 90% complete with this project. The actual project cost came in at $15,098,000. We're nearly almost $2 million under budget. Grant funding is based on a percentage of the total cost, so we will receive nearly $400,000 less than projected. And the actual 30-year loan is also reduced by $1.3 million to an extent of $7.5 million that will need to be repaid by the users in that district. The proposed sewer rate for the new users is $930 a year for 30 years at 0% interest. The rate calculation on the loan payment is per EDU. An EDU is equivalent dwelling unit. At this rate, we have over 400 EDUs in Phase 1 extension. Now, as the EDUs go up with construction in near 30 years, this rate obviously can fluctuate. We would not pay that off at 0% interest. The operation and maintenance, the $354 is what all South and Center Chautauqua Lake Sewer District customers currently pay per EDU. So the $354 is the operation and maintenance, and the $576 would be the payment of the construction of the loan, and a total of $930. And we presented this April 22nd to the residents of the Phase 1 area. And so the resolution then in section 6, the scale of charges for properties within the South and Center Sewer District are $354.
Section 4.
Yeah, actually.
Section 4. I was close.
Depends on which.
Well, I was looking at it. What,
You're in the right.
Your I and your V were in the wrong area.
dyslexic, is that back?
Yeah, that's it.
So for properties that are not within the South and Center Sewer Extension. All right. So current residents in the South and Center Sewer District are $354. For properties in the South Chautauqua Lake Sewer District Extension area that were previously served by the town of North Harmony Sewer District will be $364. Now, this is a little area that was constructed privately. They put an entire sewer collection system with a pump station that pumped to the South and Center Sewer District. But the sewer district did not maintain the system. The BPU maintained the system because it was outside the sewer district boundaries. And this was established years ago by the previous director of the South and Center Sewer District. So because that district's already established, they will only see a $10 annual increase in their cost. And then section C is the rate structuring for the phase 1 sewer extension customer of $930. That's the EDU, that's the operation maintenance and the infrastructure cost. In section D, or paragraph D, that in all vacant properties that are at least a quarter acre with sufficient road frontage for new house construction would pay a $100 annual cost to the construction for the 30-year period. And that is the proposal in front of you.
And it's not dependent on, like, if they have 5 acres, it's still 100.
It is not. It was just 1 acre is 0.25 or larger.
Uh-huh.
They would pay $100. Yes.
Tom, I'm sorry, John.
How was that received, Tom?
Yeah.
The people who own vacant lots who are, I mean, were they showing up and saying how?
You know, that really wasn't this discussion point. What we express is these customers, the property value has gone up significantly now that you have municipal sewer. Whether you want to construct, I mean, that is just a property value. It was more so actually the discussion at the public meeting was the $930, and we explained how that number was derived. I was a little surprised by that because from the beginning of this project, we have expressed to everyone it's $1,000 or less. I had one gentleman come to me and we had a conversation because it's funny when I drive down the street, can you stop? And we would have this interaction. And the one gentleman asked me, and I said, it's $1,000 or less. And he looked at me and goes, yeah, right. If it's less, I'll buy you lunch. I had to go back and see him.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show him that. But no, I mean, that between COVID, the ability to the contractor going out for bids, we got 3 bids. This being the most lowest responsible bid was our contractor, JD Northrop. Going through COVID with the supply chain, the fuel prices going up, the fact that we came in under
Yeah.
is,
Which
you
is
know,
commendable. I mean,
yeah,
to be able
it's
to do
just,
that.
yeah.
I just wondered if you had residents who own vacant properties who were concerned. I get that the assessment goes up.
Yep.
I assume that's, I mean, their taxable value goes up, but
Mhm.
I didn't know. how they
And
would
to
respond.
deflate that a little bit, when there was a little bit of a discussion on this. If you have a buildable lot that is in section block and lot that is adjacent to, you can merge the properties.
Mhm.
I mean, you could merge them if you wanted to. And if it was a merged property, then it would be not a buildable lot. You know, so you have that avenue to reduce. So it's all one section block and lot that your entire residence sits on.
Mhm.
If that's larger, you still would only pay the 930. You wouldn't pay an additional
Because
fee.
it's quarter of an acre or greater.
Right.
Right. Okay.
What kind of infrastructure do you put in on those vacant lots, like that would require?
So there's nothing on the vacant lot. They're just within the boundaries.
And if
Of-
they decided to build, you'd have to put in a whole.
They would.
They would.
They now there. It's just as simple. If you were to build in the South and Center Sewer District currently, if you were to come in and you needed to construct a home, you would also supply. You can pay for the water connection, the sewer connection. Those would all be on the builder. Yep.
Tom, that initial loan is from New York State,
It is from EFC.
and the county is the pass-through for the repayment of that loan for
Correct.
the next 30 years.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Does every parcel have to hook up?
Yes. Everyone will be responsible.
Everyone that has a,
Yes, even if you installed your septic tank 5 years ago and it's sparkling brand new, you're still hooking up.
Okay.
Yep, that was part of the whole project. It was identified that there are reasons and you will hook up. So yes, that was a little bit of a,
Yeah,
but very in the onset, we talked to a lot of these people, what the benefit of all, I mean,
yes.
there was Dr. Ellison pointed out the fact that, the percentage of wells, their water wells that are not, within the limit where they need to be, they're basically failing. So when you start to talk about the impact of water
Yeah.
on your drinking water versus sewage water and where you're swimming and these different topics, you kind of can persuade them to think a little bit.
Very persuasive argument, as far as I'm concerned. Any other questions or comments around about this one? Okay, sounds like all in favor, please say aye.
I,
Opposed? And the resolution carries. Okay. Thank you. Okay, then, we can move on to proposed resolution to amend the 2023 budget to implement the new courthouse roof replacement project using funding from the American Rescue Plan.
How you guys doing? Josh Rothwell, Assistant Deputy Director, Buildings and Grounds, Public Facilities.
Tim Carr, Director of Public Facilities.
Thank you.
We currently have a roof that's no longer adhered to the old courthouse. Got one of those really windy days last fall. Got a video actually from the highway superintendent in town of the roof blowing in the wind. So we put together a ARPA request and met with them. And this resolution is just to put the money in our account to proceed with the roof replacement.
Sounds like it's.
The last time the roof was done was 1997, I believe.
Yeah, just 26 years old. The current roof is now. It's actually concrete underneath it too, so presents a little bit of a.
so I'm sorry, it's a rubber roof?
It's a rubber
Okay,
roof.
okay.
Yeah, they glued it down
Yep.
over the
Okay,
cement.
sure.
The new roof, the new proposed roof comes with a 30-year warranty, 30-year finish warranty. It's 16-inch, 22-gauge hi-hat roof panels. They've already done wind studies, snow load stuff. We've had engineers up in the attic, and they're also going to, as part of this project, they're going to strip, sand, epoxy, prime, and paint the dome inside and out. And there's also a flat area around the dome where you can access to go out and work on the dome. They're going to coat that, what they call it. It's a white coating, like similar to what they put on the jail roof. It just keeps the roof cooler. They'll inspect the seams and make sure everything's still glued together and replace anything that needs replaced. Yeah, that's about what that is. It's definitely in need. We've got buckets up there right now catching water where it's ripped from blowing. We thought it was a perfect thing to use ARPA funding for, so we went that route initially. And
Sounds like it's a needed repair.
There's no other way to go.
no, there's no other way. No, you could add a lot of cost by putting down wood, securing wood to the cement, furring it up, putting sheeting down, maybe doing shingles or something like that, but that would significantly add to the cost of it. That'll go out to bid also. So the number that we proposed was a budgetary number. It may come in less. They're predicting it to come in less. So, and that obviously be returned back to the ARPA.
Sounds good. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just noticed that in the resolution, we have not yet assigned a sub-department number or a capital project number.
Oh.
So there are 5 X's there.
Mhm.
So I will get that number and have it for audit and control on Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes.
one final question I would have is, I mean, it sounds like the roof was old enough that you would anticipate that it would be failing relatively soon anyway, but are there insurance policies that cover when you have wind damage, or is that an act of God?
Yeah, I didn't talk to Dennis about it, but it was actually, so I started doing these projects with help from Drew, and he actually had this project to be done next year in long-term capital planning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely exceeded its life expectancy.
Okay.
I did not talk to Dennis about the blowing. I think the tears came from it becoming no longer adhered to the concrete
Due to age.
and that's so.
Fair
Actually, we had a Jamestown Roofing came in the winter, and we got one day where the sun came out and there was dry space, and they roped out onto there and actually had to screw down turn bars to hold it down to get us through the winter, so we could move this forward here this spring. So.
Sounds like it's time to take care of it. Any further comments or questions? All in favor of the proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Resolution carries. Okay. Our next proposed resolution is to amend the 2023 budget to implement and purchase building and grounds equipment project using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act.
So here we have, we're looking to replace a 2014 John Deere X710. It's the tractor that we use with the snow blower with a cab on it in the wintertime. So it sees a lot of salt and a lot of snow. We also pull the salt spreader for the sidewalks with it. The wiring harness is just all corroded. We've taken it apart and put Nigel in it and put it back together. And sometimes you're out there at 5 a.m. and the headlights will turn off, and then it just needs to be replaced. So the wiring harness is bad. What we plan to do with the new tractor, they don't make the X710 anymore. It's an X730, which is the same frame, just a little different horsepower and different hydraulic stuff. But that cab will fit. So we're just going to take the existing cab that we have, put it on the new tractor. Also within that equipment purchasing, we had 4 Windsor XB12 vacuum cleaners, and another tractor to mow the lawn, a 0-turn mower. We've never had a 0-turn here at Buildings and Grounds. We're going to, increase efficiency and, get the guys able to do other things by hopefully mowing faster with the 0-turn. That's about what it is. And that also too was approved through for ARPA funding as well.
Any questions?
I do have a question. If this didn't come from ARPA funding, where would you go to ask for that funding?
Just a regular capital project. I would ask for it. Yeah.
The general?
Oh, I'm not really
No.
sure. Maybe
Capital project.
That's
It'd be a
correct.
capital project because
Yeah.
it's over
Yes.
10,000.
Right.
Josh, I might have missed this. What was the year of the tractor you're replacing?
2014
Okay.
with
And maybe that's in here. I apologize.
no, I don't think it is.
Okay.
And it has 704.7 hours on it. It's a lot of snow blowing.
Trade-in value to any of that equipment, or
We're gonna-
you're replacing the,
Auction.
oh, just an
Yep.
through auction,
Auctions
whatever.
International.
Mhm. Okay, Any other questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just got as you can see, this resolution is the
As-
same as the last
same
one, that
thing.
it has the
Mhm.
5 X's, but I did just get the numbers for both.
Oh,
So I'd like to propose that we use, in place of the X's for the equipment resolution, that would be, let's see, 25265. And the roof project would be 25264.
got that with you? Okay. Thank you very much for that input. Okay. Any other questions concerning this resolution from the committee here? All right. Sounds like a good way to use some of that ARPA money. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution carries.
Thanks, Josh.
And our next proposed resolution is to designate Chautauqua County as the lead agency responsible for state environmental quality review for the obstruction mitigation and easement acquisition project at Chautauqua County Airport, Jamestown.
Hi, Shannon
Hello.
Barnhart, manager of airports. I don't know a lot of what else to add other than what you just said, but we're doing an obstruction study that the airport's already approved, and we're doing the environmental process. And part of that through the state of New York is the seeker request to be lead agency to coordinate with the local jurisdictions around us. So we have, it's mainly tree obstructions, tree removal to clear the airspace around the airports on all 4 ends.
This was the obstructions that obstructions that have grown up. Come, is that what the cause of this? Trees growing?
Yeah,
or-
trees growing, approaches changing, different guide requirements by the FAA. They sometimes change surfaces over the years. So we've removed anything we could that's on airport already that was something that we could handle internally. But everything else that's on airport, this is another study that's going on that we had to do. And yeah, it's basically clearing the obstructions for the approaches when you come in, when you take off. We don't want to hit trees. So.
Yeah. Sounds
There is
good.
one light pole we've already worked with. It's at Jamestown Advanced, and we're willing to move it. And it's kind of a silly thing because it's real close to the building, and if you hit that, you're already in trouble. So, but it's a requirement. When the FAA analyzes the surfaces and the obstructions in it, they don't analyze what's already there. So they're only looking at that one light pole and hey, it's in the surface. Sometimes there's not logic that goes with the being right next to a building that's already lit. But
All right. Any questions from the committee concerning the resolution? It's part of the airport improvement plan, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Very good. All in favor of the proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution carries.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. And next on our agenda this afternoon is a discussion of traffic safety.
You want to start, Drew, or you want me to start?
I'll introduce myself, I guess. Drew Rogers, Deputy Director, Public Facilities Engineering.
Thank you. And yes, Miss Parker, you're the one that brought this.
Yeah, so after those two accidents that had to do with that one guy who actually hit and killed people in two separate places in Chautauqua County, I started to do some research about different kinds of like county road safety plans or audits, and I called Cornell Local Roads. My understanding obviously is that a lot of what happened with the person in question who ended up killing two people was, had criminal aspects to it. But I was curious as to the intersections, those particular intersections, particularly the one up on Center Road and Route 83, which I'm very familiar with. So, which is a bad intersection, even though there was a bad accident that was caused by this person. So it just started me thinking about if it was possible for the county to work on looking at intersections throughout the county to see what kinds of intersections have particular problems. So I talked to several people. I started with Drew, and I talked to Cornell Local Roads, and David Orr, who's an engineer for Cornell Local Roads, said that one thing to do is to do what he called a road safety audit. Now, I called him again today, and I talked to Jeff Scott, and he said typically what happens is where you start is you can't do the whole county at one time. But the advantage of actually developing a safety plan is based on a number of things. One is that you can develop a plan for projects to work on in the long run. Because I guess my understanding, and Drew, I'm going to hand the floor to you, but I think the idea is, you can do better assessment and implementation. And if you figure out what the configurations are that are actually causing more accidents, then you can plan for other places and notice other places where you might have issues. And I think that in rural, one of the things that Mr. Orr talked about was on rural roads, you might have like one accident every 5 to 10 years or something. And Drew, you talked about an accident that just happened in Bus-Dye, and then kind of the response to that. But that if you start to look at those kinds of features that make it more likely to have an accident, and then work on making your roads more, like planful. So what this guy today, Jeff Scott, said, if you develop a plan, you have a better assessment for long-term projects. You don't have to do all your roads because that's virtually impossible. I'm sure that's what Drew was thinking. There's no way that you guys have time for this. And it also doesn't obligate you to work on whatever it is you determine you might work on, and make a list and a plan, because the state, you don't have to obligate you to work on it right away, because the state knows that despite the fact you make a plan to do in the future, finances are preventing such things, particularly in our area. And then he also said the county is slightly more protected if you have a plan rather than just saying, well, we just handle things when they happen, kind of thing. And my other interest is that I know that in Chautauqua County, some of the work that's being done for economic development is about making Chautauqua County, more appealing greenways, waterways, roadways and that another aspect of a safety plan would be to consider that in our county, there's a lot of road users. And when I was talking to this guy today, he said, because just the other day, you're going to have runners. You're going to come up when I'm on Route 37 or whatever, between 380 coming to Mayville, I'll see an Amish buggy or you don't usually see runners there, but you see runners like on our county road, which is Berry Road. And you always have to be aware of bikers and runners, even when you're on those more rural roads. And I think that's really true, particularly say on 37, where there's several Amish farms and stuff. So anyway, you want to include all users, which is much more of a considered an important aspect to road planning now. Okay.
Yeah, so currently what we do in-house is similar to a safety audit. It's if we know of an issue or have been made aware of an issue, say at an intersection, we'll go out and review it, check the sight distance, check the sight lines, check for the appropriate signage, and replace as necessary. There's different countermeasures that you can do in the plans that Legislator Parker was referring to, lay out different levels of those countermeasures. And typically what we do is considered like a tier 1 or tier 2 kind of thing. It's kind of the low cost, easier to identify type of issues. I would say our reviews are probably a little bit more on the reactive side versus proactive. As mentioned, it would be a monumental task for us with our small department to check and review all 550 miles of county roads to try to do this full assessment. The plans that have been referred to are local road safety plans. There is some grant funding available for developing those plans. There's one through the bipartisan infrastructure bill. It's got an 80% grant with a 20% match. And that's for developing that overall whole system-wide type of plan, where at the end of it, you kind of have a list of countermeasures that can be used for different types of issues, whether it be accidents or whether it be a pedestrian or bicycle safety issues. There's lost my train of thought there for a second. So the other thing that it outlines is also kind of gives you a list of projects that you can tackle. These plans have they have a timetable that they're supposed to be enacted within. And there is a significant cost that can be associated with the implementation of that type of plan. Chemung County did a plan for, I think it was 2017 to 2022, somewhere in those timeframes. And they committed basically $5 million to implementing the plan. And I'm not sure the total cost of what goes into developing the plan, but I know the minimum award for this latest grant that I've seen is $100,000. And the largest, I think, was 10 million. So it's quite a range, but it would be several $100,000, I think, to put together this type of plan. And it would be an effort that would require use of a consultant. The big question at the end of all these plans is can you implement it? Is it feasible? And is it feasible and within reason cost-wise? And I guess you wouldn't really fully know that till you got to the end of the plan.
I'm just thinking that you probably want to know if, I think Chemung got like $3.5 million in DOT money or something.
Yeah, they were awarded an initial project through the state to implement some of their phase 1 type of work. Not sure what they were able to get beyond that, if it was all local, but at the time they were able to get state funding.
So would you be willing to, do some, when I was talking to local roads today, apparently the commissioner in Chemung is called, Avery.
Mhm.
I don't know what his last name is. I think his first name's Avery. He suggested that this would be a good, person to talk to, this commissioner, because he's been through the whole process. He has, he's a real proponent of it, apparently. So it would be would you be willing to look into that?
Yeah, I will be in Ithaca. Cornell Local Roads has their training every year, the first week in June. So I
Yeah.
will be with David Orr, I will be with Jeff.
Oh, good,
And
yeah.
I'm sure I can touch base with the gentleman from Chemung too.
Yeah, I've reached out to him. He's the one that provided me the information. So I've got a line of communication to open up that I can
Okay.
follow up.
So, and the other thing is, I mean, I think, as public facilities, maybe, I'd be willing to be helpful in doing whatever I could be helpful doing. I don't know precisely what that would be, but whatever it is, I'd be. Do you think it's so? It sounds like. Do you think it's worth it to at least look into looking at a more proactive? I do think that roads, streets are changing, and there's been a real increase in accidents too. And when I was talking to someone, they said that part of what the problem is that the new cars, new trucks, they have much easier acceleration, easier. I mean, we're talking about different vehicles hitting people now. That's why part of the reason why there's more fatalities. And one of the issues, I think, for a plan is, the education piece, the engineering piece, the EMS piece, where you say, okay, so part of the plan is how do you make sure you have EMS who come, right? I mean, we have a really good EMS system, but and then the other is enforcement, but those things have to kind of work together.
No, I think we're always open, to looking at making things safer, making things better. And I know in the last couple months, we have gone, through, but we have 2 guys now specifically, that's all they do all year long is a sign crew. We implemented that about a month ago. So we have 2 guys now, that's their total job, is just signs in the county that we replace, fix, whatever we need to do to keep that up to date. But yeah.
Okay, well, that would be great. I mean, we might have, does anyone have any specific questions or anything?
I know that we do have like a 5-year highway improvement plan. We try to evaluate all the county roads as far as maintenance, right? Is any of that tied into safety aspects? I mean, I know, that you have to maintain the road, and a well-maintained road is, of course, much safer than a road that you're letting
It's
go.
all kind of tied together. We don't specifically go out and review roads for safety aspects. Typically, it would be at intersections that were the biggest issue. Other things that might aid in causing accidents on the road, say like runoff road or something, might be the exposed pavement edge, if the shoulder settled, or perhaps a lack of edge line striping. Those are things tied into safety that also work with maintenance. They're continual and ongoing, where those issues get identified and get put on a plan to get remedied. So it's a yes and no. We don't specifically look for safety, but it is tied in many cases to also the maintenance program.
Do we keep track of accidents in the county? Do we have like
The
Do we look
sheriff-
at specific
Yeah.
intersections, you know, and say, oh, this one, you know,
The sheriff maintains a database.
oh,
and-
okay.
And, you know, if we need accident data, we can reach out to them. The state DOT has a database, and have a user ID to get into that system. Unfortunately, it's been down for the last couple weeks, but so there are ways we can get in and gather accident data.
But they don't normally, you know, the sheriff's doesn't come to
No.
the
I
highway
would think
department once a
maybe
year
some
and say,
communication with the sheriff. That's something maybe we could get quarterly or. you know,
Yeah. We used to a lot more when everything was paper. They would send, the different departments would send paper copies of the accident reports. Once everything went digital, that kind of died down, I think.
but it must be stored someplace.
Yeah. Lakewood Bus Die was the last department that used to actually send us the accident reports for their quarter or month or whatever time frame they had.
It would be interesting to see, you know, if there, you know, is someplace where there's statistics that could tell us if there are increased accidents over the years or you know, some sort of statistics that we could look at.
The last I've gotten from, I think it was October 2020 to September 21. This is a map of the accidents in the county, and the clusters are around the urban areas, and then just sporadic around the rest of the county. That's something. This is actually from the sheriff's department. So.
I asked for the sheriff for pedestrian accidents probably like about 6 months ago or something. And he was, you know, he sent me all the accident. He was very willing to share the information. I think one of the things that, like say, obviously I represent Fredonia. In Fredonia, the village, what happens is you have a lot of, you do have some accidents, pedestrian accidents, but you also have a lot of almost accidents that are not reported. And I'm not referring specifically to pedestrian, but that's where I think it's more difficult in rural areas. Yeah, in Jamestown and in the more urban, suburban, semi-urban areas. But in the rural areas, I think you have a lot more near misses, or you have, one of my constituents called and said she and her husband were running down Berry Road, which is there's a lot of houses, blah, blah, blah. So they were in the village, and someone came by them and was very close to them, close enough that the husband could like bang on the mirror. And she called the police, and the police came and told them they shouldn't be on the road, which is that's not accurate. It's not law. I talked to local roads today. They were on the edge of the road. They were running, just like Amish, buggies can go on the road, bicycles can go on the road. There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of all I'm saying is, I think you need more than just the list of accidents for true criteria. I see Lisa is here, Lisa Vanstrom. You were talking about last year about there's an intersection near you that people call you about all the time.
Yep.
And say they had near misses.
I report when I get an email or a call, and then I check on it, and my local chief for Ellicott looks at it.
Yeah.
And he says, these are the numbers, they're a ton lower than what actually people perceive, because what happened is I witnessed an accident, and then I call Mr. Davis and say, oh, did you see the accident? And then he tells another person, did you see the accident? So now all of a sudden you've got
A lot of
a
people who
trio
saw
of
the
people
accident.
talking about one incident. That is something that has happened before.
Mhm.
So, I'm a former jogger, and I understand what Berry Road looks like. I don't like running down Route 5 or some of those rural roads with the ditches and not a big shoulder, but sometimes people like to recreate where they live or near where they live, so I understand that.
Yeah, I do think though that, I think sometimes, like you say, there might be one accident, but I do think there are some areas and what they, with the plan, or let's say you do an audit, what you do is you bring in police, you bring in, you bring in EMS, if they, people who are willing to come, people in the village, people who are around there who can actually give you other data that is useful. Are people speeding there? Are people, and anyway, that's just what I'm thinking. So I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate if you look into it, would be great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. All that information. Anything else to come before the committee this afternoon? Anything else under other? Okay, hearing nothing, I guess I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second that.
All in favor?
Hey.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Notice I did not say that I hit the
See, we're coming down.